hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. I've got my pattern and everything sitting up here with my scissors and my phone with the questions on it from Lottie's video. Let me show you where I'm at right now. This is what we've got so far. My needle is right here, and I'm working my way back, finishing that row of X's. And I've got, I think, 10 more rows total to go. So anyway, while I sit here and work on this, I'm going to answer these questions, and hopefully I don't mess up. Let me get this started here. I can't really see what I'm doing. I don't know how to adjust the tablet so that you can see exactly. But anyway, question number 1 is your favorite childhood memory. I think my favorite childhood memories are probably all the times that we went on vacation. Just about every year we took some sort of vacation. We lived in Indiana, and we always traveled west because the rest of the family lived in Kansas and Missouri. And then there was a few times that we flew much farther to the Pacific Northwest to visit family in Oregon. And the same family also had property in Washington State. So I think my favorite childhood memories would probably be all the traveling that we got to do. So you can kind of see how I like to travel. I love to go on vacation and go places and do things and see new things and experience new things. So question number 2. If you could go back in time, where would you go? What age / time period / or year? I think if I could go back in time, I would like to go back to probably the 1940s. I am fascinated with the 1940s. I think the lifestyle, especially in the UK, there's not a whole lot that I've read about the USA except the information that I've gotten from family members who were, alive during that time period. Those of you who lived through the 40s probably tell me no, you don't. But I do love to watch the BBC videos of like the Wartime Farm and 1940s house and stuff like that. And I don't necessarily want to go back for the war part of it, but just the lifestyle and the way people lived and how they had to make do with what they had or do without. I think that is really fascinating, and I would love to go back and experience that. All right, so question number 3. What is one thing you would change about your past or present life? One thing I would change if I could would be not being afraid to ask or be curious about learning how to do simple things like canning or food preservation or, stuff like that, or sewing for that matter. My grandparents raised me, and they did a lot of gardening. We raised a lot of our own food and preserved a lot of it. Most of my clothes growing up were handmade by my grandma, and I really enjoyed all that. But I didn't get I have basic knowledge of sewing, but I really don't have any knowledge at all on preserving food. So I would go back and like to change that to be more curious and more, willing to ask questions and learn. So number 4, do you have any sisters or brothers, and how many? Well, let me... 1, 2... Depends on how you look at it. Like I mentioned a little bit ago, my grandparents raised me, and they had 3 girls and 3 boys, so 6 children. One of those girls obviously is my mother. But I do know who my mother is. She's always been part of my life. They never kept that from me. So technically I have 2 moms and a dad because I do not know who my birth dad is. But that's okay. I've always been all right with that. But I always call my grandparents mom and dad. So if you look at it that way, I have 2 sisters and 3 brothers. However, my youngest uncle has passed away already. He was just like 11 years younger than me. I mean, not younger than me, older than me. And my youngest aunt is like either 12 or 13 years younger than me. So they were still living at home when I was left with my grandparents. They were both in high school, and they were more like a brother and sister to me than an aunt and uncle, although I always call them aunt and uncle. So if you look at it that way, I have 2 sisters and 3 brothers. Or if you look at it from a point of view of my mother, then I have 1 half sister and numerous step brothers and sisters that I do not know. I've met a couple of them, but for the most part, I have never met them, and we were never close or anything like that. But like I said, I always call my aunts and uncles, and my sister has always been my sister. And the question number 5, did you have a pet as a child? What? And do you have one now? No. I always had, every now and then I'd get a stray cat that would come up, but they never stayed around. I do remember having 3 different dogs. The first dog that I had, my aunt, who is just, the youngest one, who's just a few years older than me, her and her husband, when they graduated from college, came and lived with us for about a year and a half, something like that. And they got a dog. And when they moved to Kansas from Indiana, because they grew up in Indiana, they left the dog there and said I could have it. So that's the first dog that I remember having. His name was Gabriel. The next dog that I remember having was I think a rat terrier or something like that, and I named the dog after my sister. So the dog's name was Susie Dog. No offense to my sister, but I loved my sister. I missed my sister because they moved after she was born. So, I grew up with her. She was just real little when they moved. But I missed my sister. I always talked to her and everything like that. And I named my dog after my sister. And I believe that dog got ran over because we lived pretty close to the road. So when I was in 4th grade, the last dog that I got was a registered toy poodle. And it was an apricot red mix. And I named him Starbright. And they put 25 after it, so I'm guessing he was the 25th Starbright that had been registered with whatever the Poodle Kennel Association thing is. And he ended up going and staying with one of my aunts when I went off to college, and ended up having some sort of like kidney failure or something like that. And when I came back from college, he didn't know who I was and didn't want nothing to do with me. So I just let him stay with her until he passed away. And once I got married, we always had cats, multiple cats. And if you've watched my channel for a while, you know that my last cat was Fuzzy, and she was the star of the show. It was probably more the Fuzzy hour than, my craft room stuff. But she passed away about 2 years ago, I believe. And I do miss her, but I've said no more cats because at this point, we don't spend enough time at home to be fair to an animal. So for now, no more pets until we get a chance to be able to be at home more than just going to sleep at night. The next question is, do you have kids? If so, how many? Yes, I have. Well, Steve and I have 2 boys. They are both out of the house. Super exciting. And my oldest, our oldest, not just my oldest, got married this year. And his wife So I have a daughter now, but his wife had 3 children. And so now we have 3 grandchildren. Super exciting. There's 2 girls and a boy, and they are awesome. We enjoy when they get to come visit us. all 4 of them actually. So got those, and then that's all for now. Oops, I goofed. I was trying to stick that through the wrong spot. And then the next question is, number 7, what did you want to be when you grew up? Well, in 1st grade, there was 3 things that I wanted to be. I wanted to be a truck driver, I wanted to be a teacher, and I wanted to be a police officer. Or maybe it was a nurse and a police officer. I can't remember. But truck driver and police officer for sure I remember. But then that never... I didn't have any, other careers between there. I guess teacher maybe, because I always played school with my dolls, and my cousins and I always played school when we got together. But my next career interest was when I was in high school. I was bound and determined to be a DJ. So my mom set up a little tour for me at a local TV radio station. They had both TV and radio station, had the same call letters. And I was actually in the TV studio while they were on the air. It was so cool. I was there for the nightly news. And right after that, we went into the radio station. And I was actually there when the DJ was announcing the next song. I thought it was so cool. And then after he got the song going, he talked to me a little bit, and one thing that turned me off is I asked him what sort of classes I would need to have, and he mentioned college algebra, and that turned me off right then and there. I did not want to do that anymore. So when I was a senior in high school, I decided I wanted to be a church music minister. So that's what I went to school for 1 year. And then my next year of school, which I only went about a little over half, I dropped out right before finals. But I was going for still a music degree, but it was more of an elementary education type degree, because that's all that the community college that I transferred to offered. But like I said, I dropped out right before finals because, well, anyway, that's a whole nother story in itself. So, and what I went to school for is definitely not what I'm doing now. Has nothing to do with it. So the next question is, name one place you would love to live. Is that all of it? Yeah. Name one place you would love to live. I like where I live. It's very convenient, and not a whole lot happens around here. But if I could live somewhere else, I would love to move a little bit further west where it's warmer. I fell in love with the Phoenix area, or just, I guess Arizona in general, because we only went to Phoenix. Pardon me. But when we went a couple years ago, and the year before that, I totally fell in love with that area. And just because it's warmer, I would like to go back and stay there, especially in the wintertime, because I do not like cold weather and do not get along with cold weather at all. So I'm almost done with this row here. Question number 9. Who is your first boyfriend and what was he like? Well, my first actual real serious boyfriend was my husband, Steve. You guys have met him if you've been around. But before that I had, I guess you would call it more of a friend because I was younger. But I had one in 6th grade. Didn't last very long. When we moved to Kansas, because I was a new girl, there was only 7 of us in my class, but one of the boys and I dated for a while, but we were more of just friends, not, serious boyfriend, girlfriend. I had a couple of boyfriends in high school and one in college. And then, of course, Steve. So there would have been 3 in high school, 1 in college. One of them in high school would have been Steve. And we dated for almost a full year, not quite. Broke up and then ended up getting back together while I was away in college. And ended up getting married about a year later. So, yes, it was destined to be. It was meant to be. And I'll just leave it at that. Number 10. Have you ever made a gift for someone? Yes, I have. Oh, have you ever made a gift for someone who did not like it or gave it away? That I don't know, because when it's somebody that I don't know whether or not they would like my stuff or a handmade gift, I go, you know, I don't put a whole lot of effort into it. That might sound weird, but I don't. For example, they get things like stocking hats or dice bags. You know, just something simple like that I don't really care whether or not they don't like it or give it away or throw it away or whatever. So, I really don't know whether somebody has thrown what I've given them away or not. Or, you know, regifted it, etc. So, question number 11. Where were you born and do you still live in the same state, area, or country? I was born in Reed Memorial Hospital in Richmond, Indiana. On a cold, snowy Sunday morning, bright and early, that my mom was still living at home at the time. Like I said, she was not married, and I do not know who my biological father is, but I'm okay with that. I've learned to accept that at an early age. But anyway, she was still living at home, and being that my grandpa was a preacher, or as I call him, my dad, because my grandparents raised me, he was not able to go to work that day because it was an hour to the church one way. So he had to call in and missed preaching that day because I decided to be born on a Sunday. No, I do not live in Indiana anymore, but I do still live in the same state or same country. I live in Kansas now, where it's a little bit warmer, but not quite warm enough for me. The next question, which is number 12, and this is the last question of this. You meet your 18-year-old self. You're allowed to say 3 words. What do you say? I really don't have any idea what I would say to myself, because, quite honestly, when I was 18, I didn't expect to, you know, live as long as I have. It's just kind of weird, because, yeah, I thought life ended at 18. Because that's, yeah. So I've actually finished like a row and a half here while I was sitting here talking with you guys. I hope this actually will upload for me. I hope you've enjoyed getting to know me a little bit better. Make sure you click on that hashtag and go check out the other channels who have also done this tag. And thank you, Lottie, for tagging me in this. And I will see you guys right back here in the craft room for my next video.